Hey everybody, we're on Facebook Live. We're getting ready to do It's a Dig Route on WXCO 1230. We're on AM tonight. FM has Major League Baseball playoffs, which the Brewers aren't playing anymore. So
you have to say that. You have to throw that out.
I had tickets for the two home games in that first round. So we're going AM. I got a little bit different setup here, so I got to figure out what we're doing.
Teams bring a lot of speed to track, so I'm looking about that. Mark Yarrow is PRN's Garage Pass.
All right, I'm going to put us on.
Where my headphones?
Good evening, everyone. This is Bryon Graff alongside Keith Roerdink. It's a dig route on the radio tonight. We're on the AM dial, WXCO. We're also on Facebook Live, if you can find us there. And we're here to talk Packers football with a victory against the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of questions for the Packers. We can dig into a lot of those things. We have an hour to talk with each other and to talk with you. If you have any questions, any of your comments, glad to take them, 715-298-9888. So some injuries with Davante Adams not playing, questions as to whether the offense could put together some consistency, whether the defense could stop Ezekiel Elliott, that was answered. A lot of things that we can really get into, but the ultimate thing is that the Packers go into Dallas. Aaron Jones has a career day. Haven't seen 4 touchdowns rushing out of a running back since Dorsey Levens back in 2000 in the Y2K era. And,
season finale of '99.
And yeah, so that was the last Ray Rhodes game then, the '99 season, right before Mike Sherman came in 2000. So Keith Roerdink's here. Keith, in our first segment, is going to give us his 3 big takeaways. And what do you got, Keith? What are your takeaways?
Oh, man, what a game! Well, I mean, I feel like an unofficial takeaway should be never take betting advice from me, or even take anything I say for your pick 'em rule, because I didn't think Green Bay was going to go down to Dallas and win this game. I mean, we talked about it last week. I didn't think they could stop Zeke. I thought if they loaded up to stop him, maybe they'd have a chance, but. You know, despite the previous success they've had down there, and I think people should have been optimistic for that reason. I just wasn't. I wasn't a believer, but I think I am now. So, you know, what a game! And I mean, right off the bat, just boom, boom, boom. You know, getting those touchdowns, and I think really changing the dynamic of the game. So, you know, takeaway number 1 was, you know, Aaron Jones. He was the best Aaron on the field on Sunday. And again, nothing against the play of Aaron Rodgers. It was a fairly mediocre type of day for him. 22 of 34, 238 yards, a couple sacks, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 85.2 rating. So, you know, average by his standards. But Aaron Jones, for God's sake, I mean, anybody who thinks he can't be an every down back needs to grab a seat. 19 carries, 107 yards, 4 touchdowns, like you said. Dorsey Levens, of course, have done that in the 1999 season finale. The great Jim Taylor, not once, not twice, 3 times. Jim Taylor had 4 rushing touchdowns during the 1961 and 1962 season. So pretty amazing. And then Travell Middleton against Seattle in 1978. So amazing day by Jones. I mean, he's got speed on the outside. You know, the Packers and Matt before, they do kind of that outside zone running scheme. There were a lot more inside runs. He was coming inside between the tackles. He was breaking them. Great play by Elton Jenkins. I don't want to, it's a little foreshadowing for another takeaway, but Aaron Jones was phenomenal. Led all receivers with Davante Adams out of the lineup. Just, there was nothing this kid could do wrong. I'll tell you what, there were two running backs that were on the field yesterday. One of them was the 4th overall pick in 2017. One was the 182nd pick in the 2016 draft round. And if you didn't know better, you would have got those 2 things wrong. Aaron Jones was, you know, UTEP kid.
Yeah,
30 family members in the crowd, including his twin brother Alvin, who was a linebacker previously with Baltimore. What a phenomenal day for him. And he's such a great kid. Like when you see him in interviews and he just, you know, all these smiles and he's, you know, he's a big, you know, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Like just such a genuine kid. definitely the kind of guy you can root for. So to see that type of performance out of him, it's just huge. And I mean, just bringing a balance to that offense and being another star that the team can lean on, he's going to be huge for their long-term success. So that is a super long takeaway, number one.
It was the inside zone run scheme that we saw.
Yeah,
They had been trying to go outside because that was the staple of the offense that was to be brought into Green Bay. Tell us about what Coach LaFleur, we could touch on that before we get into your next takeaway, but touch on that and what they saw in the Dallas defense that allowed them to power through. Plus, I know that there was some of the foreshadowing there with the guys that they had on the inside.
Yeah. Well, I think just when you look at Dallas and you look at kind of the speed and strength of their team is, they've got a couple linebackers that can go sideline to sideline. So, by kind of going inside and then trying to make those cuts, I think you're trying to go away from something Dallas does well. Again, it's that coaching chess match. And then you're also playing into what Aaron Jones does well, which is he's got that speed on the outside, but he's a super shifty, elusive guy. It's just, he has I've been excited about this guy since really, that fifth game of the 2016 season at Dallas, his rookie year when he got 100 yards rushing. 2017. I'm sorry.
2 years back.
2 years back. So, but he's always been this kid that had, the balance and the vision and a little bit of power, but a lot of speed, but that shiftiness, that kind of that wiggle, that little sizzle, elusiveness inside. So I think running him inside, and then, you've got Corey Linsley there, at least you did. You had to bring in Lucas Bassett later, although he did a great job. But the other thing, and again, we'll talk about this in a bit, but Elton Jenkins, the rookie, just phenomenal play by him on the inside. So there was some great inside runs, really and again, Billy Turner, the free agent that they brought in as well from Denver, who quietly, I think, has been playing really well through 5 games of the season. But those two guys on either side of Linsley really opened things up on the inside against Dallas. And that led to, that gave Jones, who doesn't need much to start with, that crease and that little sliver of daylight to just shoot through and then start making guys miss.
And they sort of sprung it on Dallas, that 18-yard touchdown run. It wasn't something that the Packers had been running prior to that.
No. So, again, and that just, Jones talked about being in the zone, and I think we saw it because the kid could do no wrong. Inside, outside, cut back, direct snap, didn't matter. He was getting stiff-arming guys. So, not known as a power guy, but man, he 2 different times he busted out a stiff arm on guys. Waving the D-backs going into the end zone, running into the end zone, yelling, "This is my house." He was jacked up. So
waving.
The wave on the third touchdown to Bryon Jones. That was phenomenal. He said he didn't even realize he did that until afterwards. It's like no disrespect.
Yeah, he took it as disrespect though.
It would be hard to be a safety and have a guy wave to you on with his hand up in your face on the way in. But,
yeah, he said, "Say what you want, whatever, do anything but wave."
I'll tell you what. Again, Jones is a great kid, so I'm gonna write it off as him just getting caught up in the moment, and his family's there, and it's a huge game. And,
maybe it was his twin at that point. Can you blame it on him? All right, what's your takeaway number 2?
Well, the second one is that, again, I thought Ezekiel Elliott, I think I said last week, he could have 180 yards. He could have 200 yards by himself. We had talked about what Dalvin Cook did to the Packer run defense. We had talked about what Patrick Lindsey and Royce Freeman for the Broncos did to him. We had talked about Jordan Howard and the monstrous day that he had, along with Miles Sanders for Philadelphia. So, now they're facing, the Uber back of the league, right? Ezekiel Elliott. It really doesn't get too much better than him. There was really nothing that had shown up on film that said we can stop this guy. So LaFleur last week, he talked about, we have to have more gap discipline. So I said maybe the only way you beat him is to load up the box and just kind of let your guys leave your corners out there. They didn't really do that. Now, they played a lot of base. They played a fair amount of base against them. But I really think, to LaFleur's point, it was that defense. It was guys just on an individual basis saying, I'm going to be better. I'm not going to get beat. I'm going to be a little tougher, a little stouter. They won those one-on-one matchups. They didn't get shoved away. Again, against Philly, we talked about there were holes that you or I could have driven our cars through. It wasn't just that they gave up all those yards and all the touchdowns to Howard and Sanders against Philly. It was just the optics of how bad those runs looked and how huge some of those holes were. We didn't see any of that. So they held Zeke, 12 for 62.
His second lowest career.
Now keep in mind, he had I think the first time he touched the ball, it was a 12-yard run. His long day was 14. He averaged 5.2 yards a carry. Now, that's not awesome, but that's where, again, the Packer defense and the offense kept him in check, because by jumping out to that huge lead, by having a 13-minute advantage in the time of possession, they didn't let him get on track. They put the onus on Dak, who did himself zero favors with Jerry Jones trying to earn a great big new contract, because Jones did not look happy. But they really kind of, through what they were able to do so early, took him out of the game plan, so to speak. So the yards per carry, a little troubling. What might he have done if the game was closer? We'll never know, but it turns out it didn't matter. But it was both the defense and the Packer offense, and Aaron Jones specifically, I think, keeping Zeke in check.
That takes you back to the pattern from the first few games where the Packers were playing from the lead. And then you have that different mindset from the defense, and we'll get into a little bit more with Prescott not being accurate and turning the ball over and the Packers being able to get to him. But we can get into that in just a bit. In the meantime, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back right here on It's a Dig Route, we will have Keith's third takeaway. A little bit later on in the show, we will do your CW Driving School drive of the game. All that coming up on It's a Dig Route on the AM dial today. We're on WXCO 1230.
Drivers the best possible and safest courses available to help build a great driving character.
What do you think, Brian? How you doing?
551-1948. Or
There you go.
WDrivingSchoolLLP.com.
We hit our first break, and you can't hear ESPN bleeding through.
That's good.
Or the playoffs or anything like that.
Oh, I got a good little note here on Brian Bulaga.
You got an injury update?
I don't.
You mean as in
We're trying to work on this camera angle here so you don't have to watch the back of my head. I could put advertising on the side of my hat.
people certainly can't understand?
Yeah, all that stuff. All reasons why I made the switch to cell phone.
Making the call for
I
clarity.
want my screen to not keep going off and I have to relog in.
Clarity in a cloudy world.
Annoying.
You know, Vince's trophy.
So far, Keith's takeaways. Aaron Jones, the best Aaron on the field, and the Packers' defense and the offense keeping Zeke in check.
Yeah.
We'll get into the next one after this. We should show you around the studio. I don't know how much we can show.
I feel like they're saying the best thing.
That's it. All right, we're coming. Here we go. Ooh, how about that for a bump? We're back with It's a Dig Route with Brian and Keith. That was a little bit unexpected. I had to make sure that we were really still on the air because I just start clicking buttons and you don't know what's going on. All right, we did
We're not on the air.
we did the first two takeaways. We got Aaron Jones, the best Aaron on the field, the Packers defense and the offense keeping Ezekiel Elliott in check. And now number 3, do you pronounce the G in the name that you're going to say for your takeaway?
ELGTON Jenkins. But it is Elton Jenkins. The G is silent. What is on? Real G is moving silent. Brian, do you know who said that?
I don't.
It was Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne.
Yes. Yeah, you got me on that one.
Lil Wayne to the
Is there a T in that?
to the older folks.
There's no T in that.
No, there's a G in Elton, but no T in Lil Wayne. So left guard Elton Jenkins. We we've talked about him before. Now, he was a guy, he almost won the left guard job over Lane Taylor at the end of training camp. He was a guy they were extremely excited about when they drafted him out of Mississippi State. They got him, I believe it was a fourth-round pick. He came in. I mean, all this kid did is work hard and just shove people out of the way and win some of those impressive one-on-one battles. I want to say he beat Mike Daniels, once. He was beating. He was drawing eyes right away. So he's a guy they knew right away. They're like, okay, we got something here now. If you want to take somebody's starting spot, you really have to definitively beat him out. Packers like Lane Taylor. He's a good guy. He did a nice job for him. He got that role kind of unexpectedly himself, and it really done nothing to lose it. However, injury equals opportunity. So Taylor goes out. Jenkins comes in. This offense has really cranked it up with Jenkins in that lineup. And Jenkins had a couple knockdown blocks. He was shoving guys out of the way. We talked about in the first block, Aaron Jones and those inside runs between the tackles, especially down at the goal line. Jenkins was just powering guys out of the way. And when we get into our CW driving school drive of the game, we're going to talk about maybe Jenkins' best work of the night. But, the Packers with Sean Gary, of course, the first-round pick, Darnell Savage. They've got some really exciting rookies. Savage gets mentioned as sort of a kind of leading defensive rookie of the year type guy. You're never going to have a guard that's up for any kind of rookie of the year, Brian, but I'll tell you what, Jenkins might be the best rookie that the Packers have on the roster right now, and that's saying something.
It does say something. I'm still looking for the G that's missing there. Let's go a little more in depth in the Matt LaFleur offense, because we saw tight end heavy drive, we saw crossing routes, we saw direct snaps, swing passes, a lot of a mixture within the offense and in the play calling on Sunday.
We really did. Now there's some interesting numbers within the numbers as you start looking at this. So, we talked about Rodgers having a pretty mediocre day. Now we talked by his standards. We talked about Devontae Adams still being out of the lineup with that turf toe type injury. Now, Rodgers spread the ball around, and he really has so far this season. So now, you would think with Devontae Adams out, like, well, that's great. He's spreading the ball around. Again, just being, more multifaceted, being a little less predictable. However, when you look at the guys that were in place of Devontae Adams, they weren't doing a whole lot. So where do we have this here? So with Devontae Adams out, wide receivers filling in, meaning Marquise Valdes-Scantling, meaning Jake Kumaro, all these other guys, they only had 4 receptions at the end of the day. Now, it was really the backs who got the bulk of those. Now, Aaron Jones was the leading receiver with 7 receptions. You also had Trey Carson just activated from the practice squad and really having a nice impact in relief of Aaron Jones, getting in there as well, and then one pass to Danny Vitale at fullback. So the backs had 12 catches combined. Tight ends, all 3 of them, Jimmy Graham, Mercedes Lewis, and Robert Tonyan, had another 6. So, great that he spread the ball around, but it was the mixture of it was interesting, and I don't know that was necessarily by design. I think it was a factor of maybe who was getting open and who wasn't. But I think they knew going into this that, they were going to attack with Jones. I think being able to do it a little bit with Carson was a bonus. I think we've seen them look for a way to get the ball at least, once or twice to Danny Vitale. And then, again, with the tight ends, Jimmy Grant's second week in a row looking really good right off the bat, had that 23-yard reception. Robert Tonyan, great pass. We'll talk about that in our CW drive of the game as well. Great pass down the sideline. He's an exciting young player that is a speedier pass catcher. And then the always steady, not hurdling anyone this week, Mercedes Lewis, who had a couple catches.
Trey Carson, he came in relief. He played late. He was able to pass protect. What can you tell us about him and his background? What did they see in him when they brought him up from the practice squad?
I mean, so he's a good-sized kid, 5'11", 228, third-year kid out of Texas A&M. Now, I think he had signed originally as an undrafted free agent with the Bengals in 2016. kicked around with them. He was on injured reserve for a while in 2017. Packers brought him in probably about midway through the season last year, kept him around a while. They rewarded him at the end of the season, calling him up to the active roster, spent the entire offseason with him. And then this year, when it got down to numbers at the end, they kept Dexter Williams as that third running back. But now, again, injuries equal opportunities. Trey Carson called up just on Saturday, probably maybe not knowing really what his role was going to be, but boy, they threw him in there, and he was a guy, the spotlight was not too big for him, and he captured it and made the most of it. He ended up with, what do we got here? 4 receptions for 18 yards and 6 carries for 14. So with the longest 7. So that's nice. When they were able to bring him in for Jones and in some meaningful spots, give Jones a break and not really put themselves in a disadvantageous spot. So good for him. And then again, with Jamal Williams out, Carson kind of has that build where, I don't want to put him on a Jamal Williams level as a blocker, because I think Williams really is a tough kid who plays bigger than his frame. But I would say he wasn't a guy they were scared to have in him.
I think it's easy to recap the game and look at all the positives that came out of it. The Packers build this big lead, and it looks like it's easily in hand. And then the Cowboys mount the comeback. There's some real quick drives that didn't last very long for the Cowboys. They immediately get back into the game. All these notifications are coming across that Dallas might be climbing themselves out of a 28-point hole.
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, so it was nerve-wracking. So let's look at the other side of it and what kind of went wrong that allowed Dallas to get back into it. Ultimately, 2 missed field goals. Dallas, from that standpoint, they're going to look at that and say, look, we would have been in it if we would have had that. To miss those, I know reading some of the stuff out of Dallas today, they're really down on that kicker. I mean, he's in there. He should be making those kicks, right? He's
down
inside
a
the
little
dome.
on Dak, too.
So, yeah, and really they are, because in this Dallas team, to look at it, I know everybody was picking Dallas to win this game, but they weren't beating exactly.
People were talking about Dallas. Dallas is a Super Bowl contender with his team, with Cooper, with Prescott, with Zeke. The new big 3, but they really hadn't,
But they haven't played good teams.
Right.
Yeah, so you got Miami in there.
Yeah. So, again, my son Hayden should be doing my pick-em pools, because he was in my ear all week saying the Packers were going to win. And I'm like, no, buddy, thank you for your thoughts. That's a professional here. But they really hadn't played anybody, and that's what he was saying. That's what a lot of people were saying.
So and it was nerve-wracking. So to get to that, it's what did Green Bay do to allow them, or not do to allow them to get back into it? And then ultimately they came up with play. It's a tough place to play. You go in there, you're on the road. Like you said, it's a team that everybody's thinking is going to be a contender coming out of the NFC. But that stretch of the game, this isn't exactly in hand.
Oh, it wasn't. But lest we think this was just some massive rally at the end, which, from a scoreboard perspective, it certainly was. Let's go to 1st and 10 at the 38 on Dallas's first drive. He puts a pass, slightly behind, a pass that Amari Cooper had 2 hands on and should have caught. If Cooper catches that, he probably scores. So, and this was after Green Bay punted on their first drive. So we go from Dallas taking the early lead at home and getting the crowd behind him to this ball comes off his hands. Jair Alexander takes it and returns it, 38 yards up the Packers sideline. But if he catches that, he probably scores. And this was, I don't want to, I'll maybe stop short of saying Amari Cooper was schooling Alexander, but let's just say this was a real nice challenge for a young cornerback in Jair Alexander, because Cooper was out there. He's fast. He's a great player. He was a great player with the Raiders, much like Khalil Mack. You're scratching your head wondering why they're getting rid of a player of that caliber, because you get draft picks and hope to draft a player of the caliber of a Khalil Mack or an Amari Cooper. However, the Raiders somehow beat the Bears in London, so I will take a week off from getting on Gruden. It's a tough week for the Gruden family with Jay's Key not working in Washington, which he said that's how he'll know if he's employed Monday morning. But
and he got the call to come in at 5
a.m. classy guy. Daniel Snyder couldn't sleep. But, you know, but Amari Cooper was getting open the whole time. So, I mean, really, there was, you know, while they weren't connecting on stuff, while they were turning it over, while the Packer defense was getting sacks, you know, there were still those opportunities. The Packer defense gave up 7 plays at 24 or more yards. And I'll tell you what, so Dak Prescott, 463 yards given up. That is they gave up 10 first downs. They gave up 563 total yards. That's only the seventh time since 1940 they've given up 560 or more. Now, Prescott, 330 of those came in the second half. So they were getting a rolling, but things were open early. So it really was the turnovers that kind of held that at bay. But you had to stop the run first, which we talked about.
Brian Keith, it's a dig route. Time for us to take a break. We are streaming on 1230 WXCO.com and SportsFan1005.com. We're on 1230 WXCO. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on Facebook. We'll be right back after this.
Drivers develop good sound driving habits and show courtesy to others on the road. Call 715-551-1948 or visit CW Driving School LLC.
Drive the game. Come back.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get into the drive of the game.
Right now, I'm on
There we go.
Is this on today's one? Should I be?
It's on Facebook. See if you need to share it. Yeah, you may have to allow for it. Otherwise, it might just be coming through. We're trying to figure out if you could see this on Keith's page. I'm guessing some of you probably are watching it on Keith's page.
Yeah, a couple people did something. So
We're all about that cross promotion.
Here we go now. Very good. Oh, yeah. Here we go.
am I live, watching myself live? Because this will be confusing.
Do you see it?
I mean, I see it, but I don't.
We're looking for all those Keith fans out there.
Oh yeah, here I am.
This is a shot of Keith looking for himself on Facebook. Someday he's going to run the dials here. It's a lot of colors.
Just gonna randomly. It'd be like one of those monkey videos pushing the laptop off.
Make sure we're looking in the right order here. Because we're coming up on we have a NBC Sports. There we go. And so this is our 2-minute break. We need to come up with some sort of graphic for a commercial here.
Oh yeah.
Then we'll get into our station ID and our legal hit, and then we come back.
Other than,
James says it's coming through on your news feed.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, James. I believe James is Jimmy D.
Greetings from the Fox Valley.
I lose track of people. What those Bills? Sponsored by JFSR Group.
Oh, this is still going. I've learned that sometimes the actual streaming doesn't come across with the audio quality that you would find over the air.
I was pleasantly surprised when I checked it out last week.
Yeah.
I thought the sound was really good.
We have 20 seconds to the station ID, and then we have legal ID, and then we're back.
Here's a little something for those only listening on the stream. You know who?
So you run that bumper again?
Yeah. You know who's been a great addition?
Who?
Will Redmond, the cornerback
Will?
they picked up
Oh,
from the
yeah.
Chiefs.
Right.
Man, that guy's been a star
Yeah.
on special teams. The open field tackle he made yesterday after the first mark was ridiculous.
All right, here we go. Go back on. We're back with a dig route with Bryon and Keith. The Packers celebrating a 34-24 win. They're 4-1 and high atop the NFC North. It's really shaping up. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks as you can see it coming together. But that division, really, those teams, the Lions don't have a loss. They have a tie. And that's the game that the Packers are going to play next week on Monday Night Football. We're going to touch on that a little bit later on in the show. And then, of course, all of next week, we get to get you ready for the Packers and the Lions. And we'll go right into Monday Night Football. Just like tonight, you can catch Monday Night Football right here on WXCO, 12:30 a.m. Browns and 49ers. So
the undefeated San Francisco 49ers who had a bye as well.
Yeah, so, looking forward
Should
to
be a decent game.
you get to listen to that one here. Check it out on the TV as well. So we're moving into our third block here. Time for our CW Driving School Drive of the Game. And for that, Keith, what do you have?
Shoot up. Do we have to?
I don't have any. Yeah, we got to get some sort of sound effect. We got to work on that. We have to do a little more preparation prior to the show. We
really do. We really do. So I'll tell you what, there was no shortage of candidates for drive of the game. I think we all know this was going to be an Aaron Jones touchdown, right? This was going to be one of those 4 record-tying franchise touchdowns. I really wanted to go with the one where he gives a little wave to safety Byron Jones. I did not. What I went with was the Packers, the 3rd overall drive, the 2nd scoring drive of the game. So this is their longest drive, 9 plays, 89 yards, 5:20 drive time, and this puts Green Bay up 14-0. So this drive starts with a really nice 23-yard strike to Jimmy Graham, who, again, for the 2nd week in a row is getting involved. We talked about the tight ends and the backs stepping up with Davante Adams out, and really the other wide receivers not stepping up. So right away that drive starts. First down and 10 at their own 11-yard line. Aaron Rodgers, he's moving to his right, extending the play. Again, Rodgers, we talked about it being a mediocre day by him. No touchdowns, 85-yard rating, but he still does so many little things that make him a great quarterback. So on this play, he's moving around, finds Graham down the sideline, great catch. Now, next 3 plays, we also let's bring it back to Trey Carson. Trey Carson elevated off the practice squad just on Saturday. He's in to relieve Aaron Jones. Next 3 plays in a row, they go to Trey Carson. He responds with 17 yards. So again, great for a kid like him with really not much expectation to come in a big spot and really more than hold his own in a backup role. Now, one of the big plays of this drive, 2nd and 8 from the Dallas 49. Tight ends get involved too. Now, Robert Tonyan, young kid, trained with George Kittle, the phenomenal 49er tight end who people will see tonight playing, trained with him in the offseason. This kid's got a really nice skill set, and with the money and age of Jimmy Graham and the age of Mercedes Lewis, who just signed a 1-year deal, this guy, along with Jay Sternberger on the IR, they're going to be the tight ends to watch next year. But 2nd and 8 from the Dallas 49. Tanya, he starts off in motion to the right, kind of comes in, gives just a little bit of a block, but then releases down the right sideline. Now, Rodgers just about gets sacked on this play. It looks like he's going down. He does a nice little move, avoids the sack, kind of moves, starts coming up in the pocket. Tanyan peeks back and sees this, and Tanyan starts going deep. Rodgers literally just a little, what looks like a flip with his right hand, going downfield. Tanyan goes up in the air, grabs this above Xavier Woods, comes down, keeps his feet in bounds. They reviewed it and upheld another 23 yards. So that was a great play. 1st and 10 at the 26. Another play to the tight end. This time it's Mercedes Lewis for 2. 2nd and 8 at the 49. Aaron Jones follows a great block by Elton Jenkins. Our 3rd takeaway, just that young rookie just blowing guys up again. Then 1st and goal at the 9. Aaron Rodgers, initially it looks like an end around. You've got Geronimo Allison. He comes in motion from Rodgers' right. Rodgers gives him a little flip, ends up being 6 yards, brings up second and goal with the 3. Aaron Jones, you know he's getting the ball. He knows he's getting the ball. I think everybody in the crowd knows he's getting the ball, including his 30 friends and family. Jenkins and Lindsley at center, they double team the right defensive tackle for Dallas, Christian Covington. And then Jenkins, and this is why people need to, like take your eyes off the ball and watch Jenkins for the Packers next game. Watch him at Detroit, 0 in on number 74. After double teaming with Lindsley, Jenkins goes next level and absolutely buries linebacker Leighton Vander Esch. I mean, puts him on his back like a cockroach. Just boom, just on top of him. Jones comes up, gives a little twist at the 1, and just powers right in, and then runs over and gets in the camera and yells, "This is my house." Green Bay's up 14-0, and you know it's on from there. And we talked about the little comeback at the end, but I think time of possession ends up being a 13-minute difference. That was important. Jones with the record-setting performance, and again the play of Jenkins 2 different times in that drive, the tight end involvement. That easily our CW driving school drive of the game.
Good recap on the driving school drive of the game. We got Jimmy D here on Facebook. Keith knows him. He's in Appleton.
What's up, Jimmy D?
So I'll read the comment that he has here. Greetings from the Fox Valley. Great team. Great team win in a game that most people thought that they didn't have a chance. While we saw a lot of great individual performances like Aaron Jones, what I'm really liking is that when starters go out, backups are coming into the game, and with little to no drop-off. Haven't seen this kind of thing since next man up play, kind of like 2010.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like where you're going with that, Jimmy D. I mean, it's not quite to the extent, and we're early in the season, but you're right. We have Jenkins coming in. You had Lucas Patrick coming in at center. We saw young guys. Chandron Sullivan. I mean, raise your hand. We can't see you if you knew who number 39 was. If you could tell me, I will take first or last name. He goes up, makes an awesome, just high points that ball and pulls it down for an interception. So we're seeing plays out of guys like him coming into the defense. Again, Oren Burks back in the lineup when Goodson got hurt. Now, Oren Burks is supposed to be there. He's the preferred starter. But, bringing him in, guys shuffling in and out, Adams back in, but, Lancaster had been playing. They're getting good quality snaps out of guys that you're not necessarily looking for. Trey Carson coming in. Tanyan is a third-string tight end. So, Jim makes a great point. You've got all these different guys that are working themselves into the mix, and they're becoming important role players. I mean, even if it's, a Danny Vitale, 1 snap here, 2 snaps the other game. Against Denver, he runs that wheel route, almost gets into the end zone and ends up getting 45 yards or whatever it is. Kumaro back in the lineup, Whitewater Jesus, as I like to call him. Didn't what are you saying?
Is that just you?
No, that's not. No, that is not my nickname for him. That is the world's nickname for him. He played at UW Whitewater. Looks like Jesus. It's easy. It's an easy nickname. I can't be Sheboygan Jesus because I don't
know. But you did play high school football.
Yes, I can't be Sheboygan Jesus for a whole litany of reasons. But anyways, Jimmy D makes a great point. We've got all these guys coming in and filling a role, and it's great to see. And you hate to see your starters get injured, but it's good to know that when guys go down, whether it's part of the game or longer, that other guys are going to step up and make plays.
Anyone who's on Facebook could see Keith turn deep red while he was explaining that. How about Kevin King? He was status was up in the air throughout the week, and then he becomes questionable, and then he goes through some pregame workouts, doing some sprints, and he was good enough to get it in play. They kept him on account and should have had an interception early,
himself
and later he got one. But yeah, that's a guy. Let's go into his performance and to get that interception later on when Dallas was making that comeback.
And on the interception, I mean, that's a heck of a lot of jostling. I mean, I was surprised for all the calls that get made where you are just scratching your head wondering, how was that pass interference? Oh, he got away with one there. I mean, that was you know, he might have removed Gallup's wallet from his game pants during that, but he makes that interception and he's off. So he's just been playing so tough. Again, what we're seeing with Kevin King this year, tall kid, long, rangy, tough. You know, you go back to his rookie year, he made some plays where he was coming up and sticking guys. He's physical. He is a, you know, and this is a heady comparison, but, you know, when he is at his best, when he is at his peak, for a few plays here and there, for a series here and there, he kind of reminds me, I think, of a young Richard Sherman type of a player. Now, certainly Richard Sherman's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know, you got to do stuff for, you know, games and seasons at a time to be mentioned in that breath. But in spots, that is the kind of player he is. So we saw him make, you know, and again, I love a guy who he's not sure if he's going to play. You know, it's only 5 games into the year. It's hard to say, you know, guys are banged up. Yeah, they got to get it out at the end of the year. But, I mean, there's a young guy. He knows what people say about him. He knows how many games he's missed. So he kind of tests himself, and he says, you know what, maybe I'm only 70%. Maybe I'm 80%. I like my chances. Let's go do this. So he knew Alexander was going to be on Cooper most of the time. So, you know, he cleared himself. He's like, hey, I can do this. Let's go. So he had a really strong game as well.
I think we have about a minute and a half for you to answer this one. I know it's not anywhere near the amount of time that you would like, but could you explain roughing the passer to me?
No.
Like a slap upside the head.
If you give
a touch upside the head.
I mean, if you like right now, what I'm doing, I'm kind of the menacing gaze that I'm giving you. That might be roughing the passer.
It might be.
If I were to maybe just touch you on the side of the head, if I were to, you know, like maybe I'm gonna brush your hair, but maybe it's a little hard. That might be roughing the passer. Also, roughing the passer is still roughing the passer. Earl Thomas, on Mason Rudolph. My God, thank God that kid's okay. That was a little right. That was pretty rough. That was rough, roughing the passer. So
that one was.
Clay Matthews against Russell Wilson, not roughing the passer. Ridiculous is what that was. He can't catch a break. Now I found out today he got his jaw broken. Did you know?
He did. Yeah, he did.
Oh,
yeah, I heard that.
I mean, wired shut. What? But that was ridiculous. You know, after that hit on Russell Wilson.
That's how they do it in Sheboygan.
I was like, I will heal him. Sheboygan Jesus will heal him.
We have to take
that
a
was
break.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Keith's going to turn red, so I think we have to take a break. We'll be right back after this. Can you see that? Do we need to move the camera closer?
They can't see my legs, but I'm walking on some water over here.
We're either right on with time or not.
We're one or the other. What are we? I feel like we killed it. I think we just play some elevator music for the final segment.
You need to turn the microphone off. So this is a little bit different because this is at, I think it's flip-flopped some of the breaks. Because this is the third break, but it's showing it as being at 6 after.
So a couple things.
We're either gonna talk a lot later, or we're just gonna go back to back commercials.
But we don't. When will we know? Will I be mid-sentence?
So kickoff isn't until after 7 o'clock. So as long as we don't drown out Westwood.
Hey, that wasn't bad.
Yeah, Westwood won. Who used to do the bumps at Platteville when I was there.
A couple things we didn't talk about is Darius Smith. Kind of Ray Lewis was calling these guys out.
Yeah.
Darius Smith comes in.
I got that.
Brian Bulaga, you know, I'm giving Alvin Jenkins a lot of love. Bulaga's not giving up a sack this year.
Yeah.
Some pretty tough guys that can rattle that off. And under defensive coordinator Mike Humphrey is 8-1 with at least one interception.
Right.
You like my notes?
So, yeah, we have basically, we got 12 minutes left. All right, I'm going to turn us on. WXCO, 12:30 a.m. We're also streaming at SportsFan1005.com and 1230WXCO.com. Let's get into our final segment here. The Packers will host the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football next week. As we head into the next week of the season, the Packers with their 4-1 record, followed by Detroit 2-1-1. They had a bye week last weekend. Chicago 3-2. They lost to the Raiders 24-21, and Minnesota is 3-2. They beat the Giants 28-10. So the backup to Saquon Barkley got knocked out. So
on my son's, I actually Wayne Gallman, and I just traded him to my son's fantasy football league.
Good move.
I got DJ Sharp, the Jacksonville receiver, and let him sit on my bench and score enough points to probably would have won for me. So it's if we had a segment called "What Keith Should Have Done in Fantasy Football," that could easily fill 12 minutes.
I think that's our segment that might start. We'll make that Facebook Live only. If you want to stick around for that, we can do that. Let's talk about, we talked a lot about the interior of the Packers offensive line. How about the guy that shows up and continues to play well? Not the guy on the left side, because everyone knows about David Bakhtiari. How about the other side, Keith?
Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about D-Bach, and we were giving a lot of love earlier to Elton Jenkins on the left side, but let's go over to the right side where 30-year-old Bryon Graff, right? The big question mark going into the season. He's old. He's had injuries. Can he do it? Should he be replaced? Who are they going to sign? Was Jenkins going to play a right tackle? Were they going to shuffle things around with Billy Turner? He was a guy on the offensive line, even more so than Lane Taylor, but I think had so many question marks and just, a lot of speculation swirling around him. So let me tell you what Bryon Graff has done this year, or better yet, let me tell you what he has not done. He has not given up a single sack this season. He's gone against Khalil Mack, Daniel Hunter from Minnesota, Brandon Graham from Philly, and yesterday, DeMarcus Lawrence from Dallas. That's a pretty tough lineup. So for him to not give up, any sacks to those guys, and let's be clear, he's not getting help. The tight end is primarily not staying in. There's no chip blocks. He's just out there doing his thing. So kudos Bryon Graff, a guy that very few people are probably talking about.
How about Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith? Those two guys have combined for 10.5 sacks this year. And as some of the topics that have emerged in what we see as patterns, we've talked about them quite a bit. But to combine for 10.5 sacks already this year,
that's crazy. Again, we were talking about the number. Clay Matthews has 6 sacks for the Rams with that defensive line out there, and Aaron Donald, and he's doing a great job. But we talked about him and Perry last year. What did they combine for? 5 or 6 sacks all season long. And the Smith brothers, not brothers from another mother, had that already beat last week. So this week they're in there again, and none other than Ray Lewis. As Gary Smith came over from Baltimore, Ray Lewis is talking a little smack leading up to this game, saying, Green Bay's defense, they don't have a dictator on defense, meaning they don't have a guy that's just exerting his will on an opposing offense. They don't have a guy that's kind of that leader going and wrecking stuff. Well, Zadarius Smith, who I will say you guys have seen, is truly happy to be part of the Packers. What a great addition, aside from his talent on the field, man. Just his exuberance and his energy in the locker room has been amazing. The relationship he has with Preston Smith has been amazing. For those guys to have 10.5 sacks at this point is great. And I'll tell you what, I like when Smith got he got 2 sacks, and when he got that first quarter one that, I think it was a 3rd and 7 play, he comes in, it's Dak. He gets credit for the sack, but of course Preston Smith in there also. That play takes him out of field goal range right away in the first quarter, trailing 7-0. Zadarius Smith, for all our live streamers, he does the little, where he goes, and then he slides over. I just slid out of the picture there. but he's doing the vintage Ray Lewis celebratory dance. So he's giving it back to Ray Lewis a little. He takes that personally, but it's crazy what those two have done. I can't imagine anybody in their wildest, light beer fueled, lucid dream scenarios thought that these two guys spiked. Now Brian's blushing. 5 days, like, what is it? Where is the 7-second button? There is none. Chad said there was none. Where is, how are these guys at 10.5 sacks? It's crazy, and we're 5 games in. So this is really exciting. I mean, Mike Pettin's got to be pretty stoked. His teams are 8-1-1 when they get at least one interception. So they're getting the interceptions, they're getting the sacks, they're winning the turnover battle. Now they're giving up a lot of yards. We talked about 463. Is it 463 by Dad? Yeah, I mean that's pretty crazy. 330 in the second half, and again, what do we say? 563 total, 7 most since 1940. There was a 228 yardage differential between what the Packers did and what they did. But again, that time of possession kind of evens it out. So it really, it's for sure a team victory with what they did down in Dallas. And funny story, I heard that, and I think there's some video out there, they gave the game ball, of course, to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones throws it to his offensive line. It's like, no, you guys take it. Well, they gave it back to him. They're like, no, for real, 4 touchdowns, you get to keep it. But Aaron Rodgers, Jerry's world is nothing for him because he is 4-0 going back to Super Bowl 45. So it's pretty cool the success that they've had down there. And I think now they've got Detroit coming off the bye. They're going to end up playing the Raiders coming off the bye. I think they even are going to play the Chiefs coming off the bye. So, Chiefs aside, these are 2 what seem like winnable games coming up, but we know the Lions are always tough. Stafford is tough. They find some good matchups with, Marvin Jones and guys like that. They find ways to run the ball. And defensively, you're going to have a very motivated, Mike Daniels, and they've got some other good players on defense. So, again, another challenge for Bulag and that team. But I like, based on what they've done, I feel like they found something in Aaron Jones. He's proved he's an every down back. And I don't see why you don't keep going with a healthy guy to him next week.
That's going to do it for this edition of It's a Dig Route with Brian and Keith. Thanks for watching on Facebook Live. Thanks for listening, whether it's on the stream or on the radio on WXCO 1230 AM. Tonight, Monday Night Football, the Browns and the Niners coming up. You like the Niners?
I like the Niners.
All right, I'll go Browns right after this. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And we're out.
And that is the show.
It's a dig route.
Tim Harris with the 6-shooter. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, everybody.